And we are live. We are live. And I get to spam the folks like spam, 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 spam.
That's right. We share.
If I can find that whenever she decides to show herself. Let me try to turn my volume down. Because I'd be infamous for that. Like, I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And then you hear
Right,
me
and it's
talking to
like,
myself in the background.
oh, I know. I'm like, turn the volume down.
Oh, the things I do. Okay. Public.
I'm like, I don't see the
You
dear
don't see
life.
it?
Where are here we are.
We are here. Alright, I sent that to you. Boom, boom, boom. Doom, doom. Oh yeah, today's Tracy's birthday, so that's why she's not here.
Oh, okay.
Totally meant to say that earlier, and somehow that is not what's happening.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah, yeah. She is amazing. Because when I sent it to her, I was like, wait, I totally think today's her birthday. So that is awkward.
Awkward.
I have a lot of awkward moments these days, I realize.
Listen, we just roll right through them and move through them and keep it pushing. And that's the reality. Hello.
For real. Because listen, I stopped apologizing for it after a certain time because I'm like, hey, this is just me. And I'm 100% authentically
Yeah.
me.
Take it or leave it. And that's just how it is.
Hmm. Hmm. Some people leave it, but I was like, hey, that's fine. You know what? No hard feelings because
Yeah.
it is what it is.
But you can leave it and it's fine. Yeah. You're good.
I used to be so offended, and I was like, girl,
I know.
go somewhere with that. You fine. You are a-okay. Anywho, what time is it? Because I usually give about like 5 minutes, and then I go like right in there. Um. Oh, hello, Wayne. Of course, my mouse is not over there. How are you? I hope you're doing better. I hope you're feeling better. I hope life is making sense for you. All of that lovely stuff. Hey, Tracy. We just wished you a happy birthday,
Happy
girl.
birthday.
Go to
Birthday
church with it.
blessings.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
And I'm blessed by the best. Oh, you and your church jargon, Wayne. You just know when to pull it out there.
Woo.
It's not jargon. I guess that's what saved folks supposed to say, right? Anywho, I guess it's about that time.
Yes.
Lady. All right, so hello world. Welcome back. Episode 7 of the I Am series. She is a friend to me, a friend to the channel. Pat, I never know what to say to it because it's an episode, channel, podcast, whatever. Um, she is a friend of Afide Chairs Counseling Services. We'll say that.
Yes.
And Stephanie, aka Lilac, we've done a lot of episodes together.
Yes.
She's really the reason why I even started doing
Come
episodes
on here.
because she was like, "Hey, join this conversation," and I was like, "Absolutely." And then since then, I just been talking. So, without further ado, my friend, my colleague, a like-minded individual, and she's saved, y'all. She loves the Lord.
Natasha.
She might give you a prophetic word here and there.
You never
Ladies and
know.
gentlemen, Stephanie Jones.
Woo! Hey
How
now.
are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. We have connected a lot, went to high school together.
Mm-hmm.
was in the same master's program, and I'm like, man, I forgot, when we reconnected, I'm like, I forgot how cool she was. Like, dope. So just truly blessed to have you in my life, really, literally. And like you said, like-minded, similar minds, where we're
Mm-hmm.
marrying that mental health and the
Yeah.
church. Those two have to go hand in hand,
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited to be here. Glad to talk about what we're talking about, and just be here for all the things.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, so everyone who knows and who has been following for a while, I let people pick their topic. Very rarely do I like try to give them the title and say like, let's see where you ride with this. So I was wondering, what Steph was going to come up with because she's a genius in my book. So I didn't know where she was going with it. She could have gone anywhere because I don't know if anyone watched last week's. So last week's episode, I referred to the episode I did with her on her. Oh, I didn't even say you have your own business, Selah Ministries.
Don't you worry, it'll come out.
Sorry. Selah. Yeah. So we did one on her channel and the way we broke down Creed 3, I said, "Oh, she gets it. She understands how to take the natural and the spiritual and like she said, marry the two
Come
because it is
on.
so necessary." And I was like, "All right, let's see where she goes with this." And she said, "Let's talk about the other side of peace." And I said, "Just that title right there. I don't even care what the rest of the description was." I said, "That is amazing." And I was like, yeah, learning how to be soft, learning how to come out of pain, learning how to see yourself outside of the chaos and the dysfunction and
Yes.
all the stuff that women have to go through. So, Steph, introduce it. I mean, I just introduced it, but why this topic? Why now? Tell us more.
Yeah, when you had asked me, I had no clue what I was going to be talking about. I had no clue what I wanted to say. Honestly, I was like, ooh, I don't know. Like sometimes when I get in spaces, I'm like, when there's so much to talk about, sometimes I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
then I know it was God. And I told you that before we even hit the live button. I know God put that in my mind because I've been seeing quite a few posts about women embracing the softer side of life, not being soft, but embracing the softer side of life. There's still a warrior likeness and there's still a
Mm-hmm.
toughness that we as women, especially Black women, women of color, that we have. But we can do it less aggressive. We can do it without as much ferocity and fire and tension and stress. You know what I mean? So that's what living the softer life means, that we are removing ourselves from situations that make us be abrasive, harsh, rough,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of really exuding a lot of that masculine energy that we don't need to. I think everybody, every soul, every human being, you have some masculine energy in you, you have some feminine energy in you. We have to know how to balance it, right? And I really started thinking about it in regards to dating and relationships. And I mean, so it just all started coming together. And the main thing is this: if you want to be a master of peace, you have to have mastered war. And so a lot
Mm-hmm.
of us, right, girl, like a lot of us, a ton of us, a whole heap of us, we have us, I mean women, this is we're in Women's History Month. Brothers, we love you, but this is our month. Thank you,
Yeah.
bless you, go with God, right? A lot of us women, and I'm gonna say a lot of us Black women,
Mm-hmm.
we are not where we used to be in the rough spaces and the harsh places and the tough places, but we are still operating, sis, like we are in this rough, tough, hard place, right?
Yeah.
We're still operating as if we have to fight every day and be in stress and be in turmoil. So sometimes we are still operating like that and we are on the other side of peace. So the
Yeah.
first step is to become aware of where we are. Where are we? Aware of where we are. Where are we? Do we
Mm-hmm.
still have to fight like that anymore? Do we still have to fuss like that anymore? Not really. But we're
Mm-hmm.
so used to doing it that we have to break that cycle. We want to be on the other side of peace. We've
Mm-hmm.
been praying for this,
Yeah.
asking God to get us here. We're here now. We're treating it like we did when we weren't here. So that's where all
Mm-hmm.
this came from.
Mm. Listen, I am going to be typing notes in this comment section because one thing about Stephanie, she doesn't even know it. She'll be dropping those little pearls, and I'm like, wait a minute, let me gather them together because I can make a necklace out of this. Like, she is so good. Traquan did have a question. Of course, I have questions, but feel free in the comment section to throw things in there because, again, minister, prophetess, counselor, she has all
Yeah.
that.
I,
Why
we,
are women nowadays more masculine than women in the past?
honestly, we have to be. Look at the amount of single mothers who are out there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're too soft in that space, right? So you have to know where to embrace the softer side of life. You have
Yeah,
to be in a safe place to embrace that. That
yeah,
if you're still in turmoil and chaos, no, there's a level of strength that you do have to have. There's a level of fighting that you have to do.
yeah.
But it's the absence of the masculine energy that raises the masculine energy in the women. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a lot of single mothers. There's
Mm-hmm.
just a lot of male bashing. I'm being honest. Men are
Mm-hmm.
trash. Men are dogs. Men
Mm-hmm.
are this. No, honey, you chose wrong. You didn't hear God. Let's be real clear, right? Okay.
Ooh,
We can't call a man a dog if we're chasing after him. You knew he was a dog. He
yes.
gave you all the signs of a dog. He barked like
Mm,
a dog. He
mm,
smelled like a dog. He ate
mm,
dog food. Yet
mm.
you followed after him and said, "Oh, he's a dog." You knew he was a dog when you were with him.
Say
Come
that.
on. I
Say that.
digress.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Let me come back. I digress.
Uh-huh.
We have to know when to be soft. And so women, and it's almost cool too. That's what I want to say too, Trey. It is cool now to be tough. It is cool now to exert that masculine energy. It's cool to be fighting. My
Mm-hmm.
mother wants to do a conference just for young ladies because that's the epidemic. And the CDC said this, that the real epidemic is the fighting and aggressiveness of young women.
Mm-hmm.
And fights in schools, you used to see a lot of boys. Now it's the girls getting rough and tough. The
Yeah.
absence of the fathers in the home
Mm.
raises up. There's no one to balance it. There's no one to keep it. So that will be my response to that. I'm seeing it too. I'm sad about it because there has to
Mm-hmm.
be the balance, and
Yeah.
that's just a reality.
Yeah. I think people forget that when we are born, we are born with both energies, both
Yes.
masculine and feminine energies. I just feel like the problem is that femininity is equated with weakness and being too soft. And God forbid a woman comes off soft, comes off like, yes, I operate my feminine energy, but don't get it twisted. I'm not just going to accept anything. Like,
No.
I don't know many women who are taught how to be both strong or firm and soft at the same time.
No, no, it's not. It's almost a lost art. That there's a
Hmm.
gracefulness to being soft, feminine, and embracing and falling into that and liking flowers and just being in a nurturing space. Women are natural nurturers. That's not to say that men can't be nurturers, but innately we are nurturers. And so that's what
Hmm.
leaning into the softer side is, finding our nurturing place again, that whoever comes in our presence should feel nurtured. Even
Hmm.
that has to be balanced. We can't nurture everybody, but when though our loved ones, you should feel nurtured. You're around that feminine energy. I'm not trying to sound all weird, but we have females, we have feminine energy.
Yeah.
And I don't care if the genders are trying to be erased and all that. Females, we have female energy that cannot be reproduced anywhere else. It has to come from a woman. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
sometimes we get a little confused because it's like, oh, I want to hire this, hire that. Females produce feminine energy. It's nurturing, it's loving. Black men, you ever been hugged by a black woman? Like, what do you mean? Doesn't that feel amazing?
Yeah.
You like your mom, you can lay on her chest and you can feel that love. That's the softer side that you want to
Mhm.
lean into. We don't have to be at war anymore. We can just kind of chill and be in our, oh, I can take a breath. We're holding our breath so much we don't realize we can let that breath go and actually breathe.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned something, and you know me, anyone who knows me, Jermaine Diggs, right? So you mentioned the absence of the father in the home. But I want to go even further and say and ask you this. What broke a woman's comfortability to be and operate in her femininity? Is it a generational thing? Is it a trauma thing? Is it a lack of vulnerability and comfortability in knowing what feminine energy is? Like, what prevented us from embracing that feminine, softer side?
I think it was a number of things. I mean, we're talking all the way back to the war, when women had to go into the workforce. There's a level of masculine energy you have to have. You have to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
think really I don't want to go too far back. I think to answer your question, I think that a lot of women either got played by men, right? We're in bad relationships, we're in these tough places, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm never going to be broken or hurt again like that. So if I show my toughness and my strength, if I show that I'm not soft, you can't walk over someone who's not soft, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
present all the time tough and rough, you can't play me. There are certain men who won't even approach a certain woman because she's looking like she's gonna rock your head off, like, like she's gonna give you an uppercut, so it's just like, I think it's a protective measure, right? It's a defense mechanism that we have put up, we have just like
Mhm.
thrown up there now. That's hard to turn off. Yes,
Mhm.
no one wants to be hurt, no one wants to feel like they're getting played and strung around or strung along. No, but we have
Mhm.
to know when to put that guard down and put it up. Some of us just exist in a cloak of roughness and abrasiveness and aggressiveness. You can hear it in our
Mhm.
tone, in our
Mhm.
demeanor, in the way we carry ourselves. We
Mhm.
have to be aware of that we're like, how are people receiving me and perceiving me?
Mm.
I want to be on the softer side of life. I don't
Yeah.
want you to feel afraid of me when you come in my presence. I want, like, I feel my face sometimes is tight. I'm like, ooh, soften your face. Like, ooh, I don't have to look so mean and aggressive. But that's a northern thing too. We're talking about different regions. Up
Yeah.
here in the north, you keep your head down. You put your coat on and you walk. You don't want anyone talking to you. Don't ask me for a
Mhm.
dollar. Don't try to holler at me. I'm getting from A to B. Leave me alone. We have
Yeah.
to be aware of that too. I want to drop
Yeah.
some of that too. I want to be approachable. Not don't play with me. You can approach me, but just know
Yeah.
that I'm not a toy to play with.
Yeah. Yep. Listen, Steph. Yes, ma'am. Um, let's talk about the defense mechanism because whew, I have learned a few things about defense mechanisms, not in the books, but in my own personal life. And something that me and my best friend say all the time is that my sass is a huge defense mechanism because the sass comes out when it's like, no, I'm generally naturally just like loving and approachable,
Yeah.
personable, all that other stuff. But the moment someone tries me, that sassiness snaps right back in.
Yeah.
And so, how do you think we can be both soft and feminine, but also assertive, not aggressive or abrasive, but assertive? How do we combine two worlds?
I love that question because I mean, I think sassiness can be sexy. You know what I mean? You give a little response, you give a little flip response, like men like that. They
Yeah.
like a snap. Because it makes you intriguing in a way.
Hmm.
It's just, I think it's learning how to, I don't want to say read people, but you can understand someone's body language, and every relationship and every interaction is different. What works for one person doesn't work for the other. I can be sassier with another person, and I know I have to tone and dial that down. Are we willing to adjust our own dials for someone else's
Mm.
comfortability? I don't mean to lay down and be a doormat. I mean, if we know something we're doing is making someone uncomfortable, we're still living in our truth, we're still existing in our freedom. But are we willing, as brothers and sisters in Christ, let me bring it there. Are we
Yeah.
willing to turn ourselves down and say, let me
Mhm.
balance myself? I'm offending my brother or sister. They're not receiving this right. Let me turn this down so that I
Mhm.
can make them feel comfortable. And then you find your balance,
Yeah.
and then we need people to talk back to us. And if they're like, oh, I like that sassiness, or oh, that's, oh, you're so feisty. That's not necessarily a bad thing. People like the feistiness, you like the little zhuzh. It's attractive in a way, but
Yeah.
you have to know how to balance it and sit with it and say, I'm going to turn this up for you, but I'm also going to
Mhm.
turn this down for you, and kind of measure that.
Yeah, I love that. It's the dialing. It's not
Yeah.
shrinking self. It's just being aware that I might have every intention, but that doesn't mean that's how people are receiving me and perceiving me, right?
Right.
So Denise made a good point that Black women are already looked at as being aggressive. Like if you don't smile, you're not approachable. Like that
Yep.
resting bee face
Oh,
that everyone says that we have. It's like it's just my face. And
yeah.
so like I'm sorry that my face is unapproachable, but it's like do I have to always be smiling for you not to get that narrative of that's who I am? Like I mean, I don't some of us don't have a lot of reasons to smile because you don't know what we just left from, you don't know what we're entering into. And I kind of wanted to talk about that as well. Like there's a lot of I don't want to say fronts, but there's a lot of faces and hats that women of
Mm,
color we have to wear.
mhm.
And because we have to navigate through all of these different spaces and places,
Yep.
it's really hard for us to maintain a sense of self. And I think
Mhm.
that's why the aggression comes out because we get frustrated easily because we balance a lot of things. So, how do we manage all of the many hats that we have to wear and still can return to self? Is there a way to do it? Is there skill sets to develop to return to who you're supposed to be?
I think that's such a good question. And the one word that just keeps popping up over my brain like a rainbow arch is like community.
Mm,
We have to make sure that we have a good community around us. Like sometimes our roughness, our aggressiveness, our abrasiveness will isolate us and push us away from people, or we say no one can be trusted, and nah, and black women the catty, and there are a lot of ways that is true, right? But we
yeah.
have to find our tribe, we have to find our community who is going to check us too and keep us accountable,
Mm-hmm.
where we know that we're going too far. And if we don't know on our own, then we know, hey, I got to bring this back. I got to dial this back. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, especially like black women working in a predominantly white field, or we'll say women of color too, right? It is very difficult. And so you have to even find a work community. You have to find a life community. You have to find a work community of someone that you can check in with, and they're like, hey, this might be a little bit too much, or hey, dial that back, bring that back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, and we were just having a little conversation about code switching.
Yeah.
It is just adding another layer onto your brand. I have to see it from that perspective, because there are
Mm-hmm.
certain things we can do and can't do in certain situations. We are in white supremacy culture, and that's just a reality that we have to face, especially in America, all over the world.
Yeah.
But it's just another layer of our brand where we can be who we are. We can express our emotions, because that's the thing they tell us. If you express emotion, like if you ask a question a certain way, oh, are you getting upset? We don't have to be robots. We can express our
Yeah.
emotions. So I think that's how we keep, like, okay, I'm going to keep myself like this. I'm going to express my emotions, but I'm going to be mindful of my tone, of my body language. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be softer in my approach, but don't play with me. You're not going
Mm-hmm.
to do certain things. You're not going to be able to say certain things, because I'm not weak. I'm just soft. I'm approaching you in a soft way. And I want to say this: it is for others' benefit that we live a softer life. It's
Mm,
We benefit from it, sure, but people around us who we encounter, y'all would want us to be soft, because the other side of that is the warrior, right? Who does not turn it off. Think of Xena, warrior princess, ready to rock and roll at any time. Living a softer life is for other people's benefit. We
yeah.
benefit from it for sure. I say the same
Yeah.
thing about salvation. I say the same thing about mindfulness and me sitting under soaking worship music all day. That
Mm-hmm.
is for your benefit, because on
Mm-hmm.
the other side of that is something that you don't really want to encounter or embrace. So
Mm,
finding yourself, knowing yourself, because your community and tribe will be like, hey, you really want to do that? Is this what you should be doing? We need the accountability to stay soft.
mm. Accountability. People
Ah,
hate that word. They hate it.
ooh, it's a
That is
cuss word.
it's a whole cuss word. They rebuke that thing the same way they rebuke Satan and all of his friends.
Sure do.
But listen, if we don't have people and I tell my clients all the time, don't get you some yes people. You don't need people to agree with everything you say, because you won't grow in a yes garden. You are not going to.
You
There's way
can't.
too many yeses. Your roots have no way of expanding themselves, and you're not being fed the right stuff. Like,
No.
too much water will drown a plant, too much sun will dry it out. You need a little bit of both. You need people who's like, I see you, love you, you're doing great. But then you got to have the other ones that's like, no, that wasn't good. That wasn't clean over there, and you need to go clean that up, right?
Yeah,
Find yourself a little bit of both, because that it's the balance of the two extremes that allow you to grow the way that you need to grow.
for
And
sure.
being a counselor, and this is something that I was like dying to ask, so I made sure I asked it. As a counselor, I think we encounter a lot of, especially women, we encounter a lot of women who have experienced life, and life has taught them the only way to get through it is through aggression. The only way to get through it is to fight. So like we were talking about when we broke down creed, was like, if all you know is fighting, that's all you'll ever do, no matter
That's
what
all.
area. That's all you're going to do. So, how do we come out of the fight? How do we come out of this innate, programmed, maybe conditioned thing that we have learned because of life itself? How do we come out of that to allow ourselves to see the other side of chaos?
We're already out of the fight. And that's what I'm saying. We're already out of the fight, yet we're still operating like we're in it. We're
Mm,
already on the other side of peace, y'all. We're already
yeah,
there. We
yeah.
have healed. We have traveled. We have crossed that bridge. We have run that road. And we're not finished the race because healing is that perpetual process that you keep going. We're already out of the fight. We don't have to fight anymore. Look
Mhm,
at our surroundings. I think that and I just said up north, we put our head down and we keep our eyes closed and we brace against the wind and the harsh cold and we just keep moving.
mhm,
When we give ourselves the opportunity to open our eyes, we realize, wait, I'm not in the same space I was. I'm
mhm.
not around the same people that I need to fight with.
Yeah.
I am not in the fight anymore. Why
Mm,
am I operating like this? So I would say to that,
yeah.
we need to open our eyes and survey our surroundings, see that our
Mm,
vantage point has changed. Hey, I'm not in the same situation I was. Hey, I'm not needing to fight so aggressively. We have to realize we have gone at a different place where we prayed for. We prayed for God to get us in these softer, peaceful places. And we're still
mhm.
operating like we're fighting because our eyes are closed and we're still bracing against it. Nah, we're not in the fight anymore, sis. We don't have to operate like this anymore.
I absolutely love that. Listen, I'm typing
Come
as we go.
on.
I am typing as we go. You are not in the fight now, because I know Denise. Denise was on last week's episode. I know what she means. There's like Denise, and then there's Dennis because
Sweetie,
he has to operate as both sometimes.
you do.
And what you said was so good. I think people need to realize, and trauma doesn't let your perspective increase. It always stays small, right?
Yep.
And so what you said is so good that we need to change the perspective, like change the narrative, change what you identify with, change the words. Like it doesn't sound like it'll be empowering if you say like I'm no longer a victim, I'm a survivor, but it does because the language is different. You have now taken yourself from I am currently being abused, currently suffering to I overcame something.
I,
I walked out of something, right? And what you were saying is so good. You are not fighting anymore. You do
no,
not have to fight.
no,
But the problem is that there's that part because again, trauma doesn't just walk away when you want it
no,
to. There's
no.
that piece in your brain that anything could be a threat, right? Someone looking at you is a threat. Someone who may trying to fit into this small space between you and the aisle accidentally bumped into you, like, oh, this heifer done tried me today.
Lord.
The way it just turns on. How do we turn that off, Steph? Like, how do we stop perceiving everything and everyone as a threat?
Man, that's so good. I always say go to your second thought. You can have your
Mm,
first thought, like someone bumps into you, hits you with a cart in the supermarket. Have that first thought, but then allow yourself to go to that second thought. Like sometimes we kind of quench down on our emotions. Have the emotion. I'm a big proponent. Feel your emotion, feel your feelings. You don't have to react to your feelings just because you're feeling it, right? So you
mhm.
can have that second thought. Go to your second thought.
Yeah.
Awareness. I can't get over the word awareness. That if we're not aware of our triggers, if we're not aware of what's going to set us off, what's going to push us over the edge, what's going to cause us to go back to that, we have to be so aware and that we have to be
Mhm.
so mindful that we're like, wait a minute, maybe I know I'm entering this situation. I could be triggered. I want to be very aware. I want to
Mm,
have my thought, and then I'm going to lean into my second thought. We feel the first thought and we
yeah.
act on the second thought. That I do not have to react in this way. I do not have to behave in this way, even though that's what's ingrained in me. It's so hard to steer that ship in another direction. It takes time. It takes consistency. We have to consistently battle that first thought and not act on
Mm,
it. Every time it
mm,
comes up, we just gotta that. So we want to still be the fighter. We have to fight the negativity. We have to fight
yeah.
the aggressiveness. The
Yeah.
fighter is still always going to be there. I was
Mhm.
telling my best friend Chanel, the best intercessors have anger issues because you right. Think about it.
That's fair. That's
You
fair.
you but we need to be angry, not at each
Yeah.
other, not in fighting. I want to be so aggressive with the enemy that he runs and flees. Like, no, you're
Come
gonna
on.
get this anger. If I
Yeah.
can't do it to my brother or sister, I'm
Mhm.
giving it to you, oh Satan. Okay, you getting this fire. We have the fire, we still need it. We still need the aggressiveness. It's just what are we fighting? Are we
Mm,
fighting each other? Are we fighting those who are trying to help us and love us? Are we
mm,
fighting those negative thoughts that are gonna come up first? We
mhm,
used to react to those. Now we're
mhm.
letting it come. and then we're moving on our second thought.
That's so good. I think the problem with a lot of people is that they think healing means I don't feel, I
Ah,
don't have these thoughts. They're just everything is gone. And it's like, no. Here's how you know when you're on your way to healing, right? Instead of always reacting, you're now responding,
yeah.
right? Reaction is I feel, I do. I feel, I do.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Responding is I felt that. It's like, I'm gonna put a pause here
Yep.
because, like you said, the first one usually kind of explosive,
Come on.
kind of like I don't know what's gonna happen, so it's unpredictable.
Right.
You give it a second to linger. I heard that emotions take 90 seconds to run through your body. So if you don't
Mm-hmm.
respond in a minute and a half, you just sit there in a minute and a half, like just give me a minute. Hold on.
Yep.
And then you're responding. Your response takes you out of that emotional brain and it brings you to either logical brain or wise brain. Either
Yes.
way, you're not reacting off of emotion. And emotions are necessary because they're what keep us safe, right? Emotions are the awareness in our body to say, like, hey, something's happening. I just want to
Yes.
alert you and let you know. And so, the fact that you said, like, go to your second thought, don't react, but respond, that is so important. As women, I think this has come up in other episodes, but we're not granted time,
Oh.
right? Women, especially women of color, it's like you don't have time to figure stuff out. You just keep going,
Yep.
keep going, keep moving, and don't stop. And it's like, well, hold on. With the amount of stuff that I have to deal with, I need to pause. I need to be able to check in with myself and say, like, are we good? Because if not, what you're going to do next will probably leak onto somebody else,
Oh.
especially because um, we're almost like centerpieces. We're almost like paperweights or something. Like we hold
Mm-hmm.
stuff together.
We hold it together. Hold it
And if
down.
we do not check ourselves, if we break, there's a lot of things connected to us
Mm.
that break as well. And so, since we are halfway through the episode, I wanted to pause here because Steph had some affirmations, and this is what she does. So,
Yes.
Steph, you introduce it, and then I can pop it up on the screen, and you do whatever it is you need to do with it.
Yeah, it's so funny because I consider myself to be an affirmationalist, right? Where I'll be thinking of something or something will be going on and affirmations will pop up. Affirmations are so important because it is only if we repeat certain words and thoughts and mantras over and over again
Mhm.
that we begin to change our thought, right? The Bible talks about and think on these things. And then after that, it's not this negative, dark things, all these good things, whatsoever is good and true, and all that, all what comes from above. Think on these things. We're talking about meditation, which is not some guru sitting on a mountaintop, right?
Mhm.
So these softer side of life affirmations have come up while I was thinking about this topic, while I was trying to check in with myself. I believe that I had to digest and eat this first so that I
Mhm.
could talk about this, that this is exactly where I am now, that I
Mhm.
was in an aggressive place because I had to be, I had to survive, I had to fight, but
Yeah.
I am embracing the softer side of life. What
Mhm.
that looks like is beautiful. What that sounds like and feels like is beautiful. It changes who I interact with, it changes how I interact. I'm a better person when I am softer, not soft, softer. There's a difference.
Yeah.
You're being
True.
softer than you were. You're not being soft. It's not
Yeah.
to lay down and be a doormat. And some people even get that twisted when we come in the household of faith. I can't speak up. I
Mm.
can't tell people no. No, boundaries have to exist in the kingdom. Come
Say
on now.
that. Say that.
They must. No,
Mhm.
I cannot do that. No, I'm not able to do that. No, you cannot do that. I'm all set with that. I will pass on that. Please find someone else. I don't have the time. I don't have the capacity. I don't have the plate space.
Yeah.
Boundaries have got to exist in the household of faith
Yeah.
because
Talk
we'd be
about it.
pulled in every different direction.
Yeah.
Softer side says, I can say no without having to crush your spirit. I can
Mhm.
say, you know what? I don't have the space or capacity for that without making you cry, or we break in the relationship, or there coming some spiritual abuse or church hurt. That's the softer side. I'm aware of what I'm
Mhm.
saying and how I'm saying it. I'm saying the same thing, but it's how I
Mhm.
say it and in the way that I say it. So, yeah. So saying all that, that whole spiel is how these came up,
Yeah.
and I want to speak them over us, right? So if you're listening now, And if you hear it later on, that these are things that you can say, and that they will begin to get into your spirit, into your mind, into your body, into every layer of our being, our mind, body, spirit, that soul, that we let them sit there and marinate, that we chew on these words, and that we would begin to recite these things and embrace the softer side of life, because that's where we belong. And that's just a reality, right? We
Mhm.
can still be tough. There's spaces we have to be tough, but embrace the softer side of life for our own physical body. Because we didn't even talk about what stress and anxiety do to the physical body,
Mhm.
right? You have those somatic symptoms. Ooh, my
Yeah.
back hurts. Ooh, my knee hurts. Ooh, my wrist
Yeah.
hurts. All
Yeah.
that stress goes right here. There's
Yeah.
no way we can feel it emotionally and not feel it in our physical body.
Mhm.
Softer side is good for everybody on every layer of where we are. So I'm going to read these through. If you want to close your eyes wherever you are, if you just want to hear these and let these wash over you, please
Mhm.
feel free to screenshot and take these and read these and post these up wherever you need to, because this is the way that we're moving. It's better
Mhm.
for our bodies, it's better for our spirits, it's better for our souls. This is how we encounter. So here we go. I accept the peaceful and softer side of life. I am worthy of the peace that currently surrounds me. I am worthy of the gentle flow I am currently in. I will not allow anyone to pull me back into any harsh, rough, or abrasive ways of being. I exist in the other side of peace, and I like it here. I will remain here. I am aware of my tone and how I am received by others. I am putting down my sword and laying in the green pastures beside the still waters. We're embracing the softer side.
Mhm.
Hmm, that felt good.
It sounded and felt really good. I think we have to remember, like, we have a lot more power over ourselves than what we give ourselves credit for.
Sure.
I think we relinquish way too much control and power to other people. And all of these started with I am and I will and I accept, and it's so powerful to say what you are going to do. And these are affirmations, which means these are declarative statements.
Yes, ma'am.
These are not, I wish I did, or I wish I had, or I could. It's like, no, 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 I will. And one of my favorite ones is I will not allow anyone to pull me back into any harsh, rough, or abrasive ways of being. Because I think as victims, you just kind of lay there and say, like, well, what happens to me happens. But as a survivor and as someone who has overcome, it's to say, like, I won't allow that side of me that I've outgrown or I've healed from to, like, no one can bring me back to that
No one.
power.
Yeah, and I think we have to take accountability of what we allow people to do.
Yeah.
Unless someone has some type of weapon pointed at you, you better behave in this way, then no one can make us do anything unless we allow them to. We have to be honest. She made me, he made me. What kind of control does someone have over us if they can make us behave in a certain way?
Yeah.
We allow everything. And of course, this is limited to certain situations. I'm talking about in emotional safe environments where
Hmm.
someone is pushing your buttons. That's the type of stuff I'm meaning. I'm not meaning anything with you don't have any control over your body. I mean emotionally. If someone is emotionally pulling you along, we allow them because we're like, oh, I just have to allow this to happen. No,
Hmm.
she made me. He made me. Hear what we're saying.
Yeah.
We're telling people that they have the puppet strings on our lives and they can
Yeah.
pull us and push us where it's time to cut the strings. No one can make us do anything we don't allow, and that's just a reality.
Yeah, I think as women, the narrative is created that we must be submissive.
Oh,
We must be silent. We must move out of the way, be seen and not heard.
ooh,
We are arm candy. We are the baby makers. We are the ones that cook and clean and take care of the house. And it's like if that narrative we're still here. Whew. I don't know how much powerful we would feel. I think women and femininity has come a long way,
Mm-hmm.
where we can say like, I am someone's wife, I am a professional, I am someone's mother, and yes, I take care of my house. I can
Mm-hmm.
be all of those things, and I can walk into a room and own that space and not have to apologize for it. I think women, we often apologize for a lot of things that we do. A
For
lot of things.
everything.
And it's like, why are we apologizing? What did we do wrong other than exist in our God given abilities to do things?
Because no one can choose if they're a man or a woman. Like when you're born,
Right.
you don't get to say, I want to be this or I want to be that.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
And we have to apologize for who we are. Come, there's something wrong with that. I was on this dope live yesterday, and she was talking about what happens when divine femininity is not around anymore. What happens with the absence of that? You know, what happened when it turned down or shut down or snuffed out or the water's thrown on it and the flames are doused out? We're
Mhm.
supposed to be here. We have a place. We have a space. We're supposed to be using our voice. Whenever a problem is going on in the organization, they typically call a woman,
Yep.
right? Out, and quite honestly, they call a black woman. Let's just be real clear, right? We
Yeah.
we see that in every shape, form, and capacity,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
When you want to establish order,
Hmm.
you need that feminine energy. You need that to be there and to live there and exist there. Without it, we're imbalanced, or we have too much of one thing and not enough of the other.
Hmm.
We have a space, y'all. We have a place. We
Hmm.
we we were created, right? We were
Yes.
created from the rib of a man, right on the side, like, you know what I mean? Walking right there together, where we're
Hmm.
not under anyone's feet or subjugated to any type of anything.
Hmm.
And I want to say this too, we have to stop submitting to people who don't deserve our submission.
Mm.
Okay, because
Oh,
we can
yeah.
submit, and strong women and tough women, I think we make the best submissive women because we're tired of leading. We have to lead on our jobs, we have to lead in our organizations, in every space and place we are. You mean I don't have to lead in this relationship? Sign me up. Where do
Right.
I sign?
Ink and pen. Come
Ink and
on.
pen. I'll give you a
Yes.
stamp if you want it. But so that's the thing. There's this whole, false narrative. Oh, tough women don't want to be submissive. You're right. We're not submitting to just any old person. No, we can't. It's
Yes.
not safe for us. We
Yes.
have so much inside of us. We have to submit to someone who's going to protect this gift inside of us, right? And
Yeah.
then when we're safe enough and we're in that space, that's when that femininity comes out, because you say, I don't have to be tough and rough anymore because I feel protected. I
Mm.
feel like, oh, I have someone who can really handle me and hold me. So stop submitting to people who don't deserve a submission.
That's good.
Really.
I heard a preacher say once, in order for someone to submit and be under submission, there has to be a mission to come under.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who demand something. It's like, sir, what do you stand for? Because the math isn't mathing. Like,
The math isn't.
want you want submission. You want someone to cook for you. You want someone to be there for you. And it's like, and what are you doing? Is there a vision for this marriage? Is there a vision for our unity? Is there a vision for this house? So what am I submitting to?
Yeah. And I think we've confused submission with mothering. I'm
Mm,
not your mom, right? I'm not
mm,
your mom.
that's
I
good.
want to be there with you. If we're talking about a romantic relationship, I want to walk this journey with you, right?
Yeah.
I will jump into the softer side. I will nurture you. I will rub your head and just rub your shoulder. I'm not your mom though, right? I'm going to
Mhm,
take care of you. And in return, I expect you to reciprocate where you're giving to me and you're
mhm,
allowing me to feel safe. That and consistency is everything. Like, and sometimes I feel like we can't be soft and we have to be tough and aggressive all the time too, because we encounter such inconsistency that someone says one thing and does another, or I'm going to be here for you, I'm going to do all this, and gives all this smoke and mirrors. And then when we go to turn
mhm,
around, nobody's there. And we're like, hey, what,
mhm,
what happened? No, I'm going to
mhm.
be rough and abrasive. I'm going to be aggressive because
Yes.
people are not keeping their word. And so consistency allows us to be softer.
Mhm,
You are someone I can trust. So
mhm.
I can lay down my weaponry, right? We have a whole arsenal
Oh
of
yeah.
stuff. We have swords
Yeah.
and clubs and badgers and bats and guns,
Mhm,
and We can lay down the arsenal when we feel safe, right? So
Mhm.
there's a big like tie between those things too.
Yeah, what you were saying about I'm not a mother. I might be a nurturer, but I ain't your mama. Can we talk about that? Because I think again, we have to balance so much
We
that it's
do.
we don't understand how to operate in both worlds and kind of connect the two,
Yeah.
right? I think the polarities of what we are as people, we are both feminine and masculine. We are both flesh and spirit. We are both
Hmm.
mind and body. We are both
Hmm.
soul and spirit. Like there's so many things that seem to clash, but we operate in these polarities all the time. But how do you what is your words of encouragement or how to's, if you will? How do we become nurturing without trying to fix people?
We have to make sure that we're fixed, and
Mm,
that we're not broken, because we avoid fixing ourselves by trying to help other people.
say
And so, you know what I mean? And so when you are healed and whole, again, I'm gonna keep saying it, healing is a perpetual, it's a continuous process. You're
continuum.
in healing all the time, right? You're experiencing different levels of healing all the time. We have
Mm-hmm,
to make sure that we're healed enough that we're not trying to fix people who are going to
mm-hmm,
break us, who are going to destroy
mm-hmm,
us. And we have to say we can't be anyone's savior, right? If there's something broken in someone, they have to find a healing space in their own way too. Because when we look up from the smoke, we'll be the ones who are destroyed and broken, and they will have taken and dragged and just pulled from us, and they'll be off. And that's what happens, with a lot of women. I don't even know how we got here, but like you'll be with a man, you'll help him, you'll fix him, you'll take your tool, and you'll be, just fixing, and then you're so broken and destroyed. He's like, yuck, I don't want to be with you. You're not healed, and you're
yeah.
broken. And then he goes and be's the best person that he can be to
Mm,
someone else. And that's why so many
mhm,
women are so upset. We have
yeah.
to measure what we give out and
Mm-hmm,
make sure there isn't something broken inside of us. First
yeah.
of all, that is attracting that broken person, right? You
Say that.
attract the energy you give out. That's just a reality.
Mm-hmm,
And who are we trying to save? And what are we trying to prove? Are we trying to maybe, visualize our own brother that is struggling, and if I couldn't help him, I'm going to help this guy. We have to measure that, check
yeah.
our own brokenness so that we're not getting too far into things and we end up more broken than we were.
That's so good. That is so good. We do attract. Like I tell people all the time, like, you're not gonna catch every fish with a worm because some
No.
fishes are like, what is that thing? We don't nobody want that. No, no, no. It depends on what you're putting out there, and that's what you're going to
Yes.
receive. And as women, I think, sometimes, and I won't say women, we'll talk about Jamae for a second. There are times where you just get so desperate, you're just kind of like, you know what, whatever. We're just gonna throw out whatever. And
Yep.
then I have a nerve to be mad where I'm like, gotta throw that one back, gotta throw that one
Yeah.
back. Because it's like, mm, you don't always have to fix. We don't always have to put energy into other places because we are
No.
avoiding self. And so, as a mindfulness coach, I know we're wrapping up soon, but as a mindfulness coach, how do you increase someone's sense of self awareness and mindfulness when it comes to how to operate as a whole, healed self, especially with women?
Such a good question. I think, I always have to balance being a therapist and a coaching mindfulness space, right?
Mm,
Because in therapy, we want to go back down to the back of the back of the back, behind this, behind the back of the bit, and behind the curtain, and rip down the curtain and go
yeah,
behind the wall and dig, 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 dig,
yeah,
dig. But
yeah,
sometimes we need to be there, right?
yeah,
I need I need to see the patterns that you have already done, that we have already been in order to say, okay, this is the place, this is the trajectory you can go now.
yeah.
So I say all that to say, ladies, my beautiful queens, look at the people. If we're talking about romantic relationships, look at the people you have been attracting.
Mm,
The common denominator is always us.
yeah.
Look at the people you've been attracting. Who
Mhm.
are you bringing toward yourself? Are you all trying to fix someone, heal someone, do something with someone? Those are the type of people that you're always going to be attracted to unless we start to work on ourselves. So again, it's that A word, awareness. Be
Mhm,
aware of your own patterns. Who will
mhm,
you bring into yourself? Who are you interacting with? Who are the guys? Who are the people who are always attracted to you, always trying to get something from you, always needing you to mother and nurture them? And then you realize what you still need to try to heal or give out. When those holes are plugged up, when that crack is fixed, when all the little things that have been poking out and the water's been leaking out, when those things are covered, then we can realize I want to put my energy somewhere else and attract someone who isn't just broken. There's a level of brokenness in all of us. But
Yeah.
Dag, I don't want you to be shattered and destroyed,
Yeah.
because it's hard to pull someone up. It's easy to be pulled down,
Yeah.
So it's awareness. It's being mindful. Mindfulness is just being present. It's just being aware. I'm acknowledging where I am right now. I'm not speeding past my emotions. I have to go in the past. It's hurtful, it's painful, but I have to go back to see what I did in the past to make sure I have a different future. And that's really what I would say.
Yeah, that's good. Because like I said before, as women, especially women of color, it's always go, go, go. It's always the
Oh,
next thing. And when you're running too fast, you miss so much. You miss what's around you. You
yes.
miss what you pass. Like I like to equate it to driving. There's a difference between being the driver and when you're in the driver's seat. When you're
Right.
driving, you have to stay so focused on what's ahead of you and maybe what's beside of you to, prevent accidents. But when you're in the passenger seat, you can look at everything around you, your panoramic views of nature and all the beautiful things that happen. And it's like, as women, we're often the drivers. We are the ones
Yeah.
who are focused on what's ahead of us, that we miss the beauty of what we just passed. And we didn't get
Mm-hmm.
to see that lovely deer grazing on the side of the house. Like, we don't see any of it. And I think we have to give ourselves permission to slow down,
We must.
permission to just pause, permission to be soft, permission to exist. Like you said, mindfulness is mere existence in the present. We are often not present minded. We're either
Mm-mm.
future oriented, or we are so stuck in the past because trauma has kept us bound there. And it's like we never truly get to arrive here because we're too far back there, or we're so focused on what's over there that we don't recognize where we are here. And how do you, again, we're wrapping up, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments because we're about to wrap up. But as a coach, as a therapist, as a woman of God, and just as a person in general, like, how do we use our light to in our awareness? How do we bring self into the work that we do, where we can draw and guide people to healing? Because it is hard.
Too. It is so difficult. And I was just had to like, ooh, kind of fall back a little bit, because I really feel like we have to model the behavior we want to see out. When you were saying to take
Mm,
the pause and to take the rest, I'm like, man,
yeah.
we have to sit in the Selah, the
Hmm.
contemplative, reflective time
Yeah.
that David wrote about, that Asaph, they wrote about this in the book of Psalms, because you hear music and you hear all the words and you hear the interludes, then you need to rest and sit and process what you just heard. We don't give ourselves the opportunity to rest. And
Yeah.
so we have to model that. I'm a self-care advocate. I'm a self-care guru. Honey, you want to learn about self-care? Come by me. I will teach you how to say no.
Yeah.
Obedience to God is self-care.
Hmm.
Boundaries is self-care. That
Yeah.
you're saying, you know what? You're kind of overstepping. I need to chill. Just sitting back for a second. It doesn't have to be Hawaii. It doesn't have to be Tahiti. Those are beautiful places, but
Yeah.
it's in your room with a cup of tea, in your room in the silence with some nice music playing. We're giving ourselves a chance to rest. We have to model that behavior. I would never tell someone to do something that I myself don't want to do. So I
Hmm.
model the behavior. People, you're not always going to see me around. I love being a part of my church. I love what I'm a worker bee. I love being a part of my sorority. I love being a part of my family. I love
Hmm.
being in my friend group, but you're not going to see me all the time. Why? I'm refreshing. I'm replenishing
Yeah.
my own store, because I'm
Hmm.
not ever, I don't want to pour from my portion. I want to give from my overflow.
Mm.
My portion is
Mm.
for me.
That's
And if
good.
I start to give from that thing, I'm no good to anyone else. And so we have to
Yeah.
model. You can look at me and see, oh, I need some help. I need an example of how to do this. I want my life to be a living sacrifice, a living example
Mm. Mm.
of how to
Mm.
rest and just chill. living that softer life, we have to model it. We have to model it. You know, Lady D said that we were together in Florida. Someone had done something,
Mhm.
and she modeled the behavior she wanted to see, and that person responded in kind. If we want people to change the way they are, we have to model the behavior, and we
Yeah,
have to show them how to be, because they have no other examples or representations of it.
that's so good. That is so good. Like she's not faking about this self-care stuff. Girl got
See,
candles and bubble baths and music all the time. I said, hey, I'm gonna have to hit up Stephanie and be like, help me.
let's do it.
Please help me. Cause
And
I mean, I do a lot. We do a lot. We do a lot of
we're
things. Sometimes
busy.
we're just like,
Yeah, you need a breather. Again, not just for us, but for all the people connected to us.
mhm,
We're no good to anyone else if we're not taking the time to just sit, rest. And then I started looking at workplace self-care, right? Where you're not allowing yourself to be pulled in every different
mhm,
direction. It's just applied in every space that we're in.
yeah,
We deserve it. You deserve self-care, right?
mhm,
If you're running and moving and rocking, sis,
yeah,
you deserve it. You deserve the moment to breathe, to sit, to pause, to Selah, so that
mhm,
you can be and do and exist in the way that God has for you to, so you can pour out your gifts effectively, not from a burnt out space, not from a broken place, but from that, oh, I'm refreshed, so I can go
mhm.
ahead and give you what God gave me.
Yes, yes. Steph, as
Yeah.
always, I appreciate you.
I
Listen,
love you.
Selah Ministries and a
That's
Fighting
it.
Chance are going to keep
Come
crossing paths.
on. You
Like,
know, you
who
know.
knows? We might collab on a whole podcast and just, keep pushing out
We
content.
need to. I think so. I know we try. What God's will happen,
Amen.
and I feel like we have to collaborate. We're in the season of collaboration,
Yes.
not the season of just I'm gonna keep this to myself. I'm gonna do this. No, the season of collaboration. We're coming together because we are better together, and we
Yeah.
literally have the same mindset, and we
Yeah.
literally want to see the same goal. There
Yeah.
is no competition. There is no, you're
Yeah.
my sister. We have the
Yeah.
same exact thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You have the people you reach. I have the people I reach. When we bring those people together, what are
Yeah.
we talking about? We're
Right.
unstoppable.
Yeah.
So, and we have to talk about this, because the mental health, we can't be silent anymore.
No, because it the silent killer. That
Ooh,
mental health, people are suffering in silence, and that's not okay. And
it's
in the church, yes, y'all, it's in the
especially,
house. It's in the house.
especially,
It's in there.
yeah.
So nonetheless, I am taking full advantage of this taking a break thing. So next week we will not have an episode because
Oh,
Jermaine will be taking a
yes,
pause.
ma'am. That's
Okay.
it.
So, Steph, thank you so much for coming. Everyone in
Thank
the
you for
comment
having me.
section, thank you for sharing. I hope that you guys have learned something. I hope you guys have healed something inside of you. Because
Yes.
remember, we're all about her. We're about the healing, the evolving, and the restoring. Y'all, I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Share this with people. And I will see you, I guess, in 2 weeks. So,
2 weeks.
and
Taking our say live. Boom.
bye, guys.